Welcome to Family Lifestyles. I'm Lynn Blankenship, the Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Sciences Education in Metcalfe County. And today I'm joined by Mindy McCulley, who is the Extension Specialist for Instructional Support up at the University of Kentucky. And she's going to be presenting us today, productivity versus procrastination.
Yes, I'm excited about this. I think it's part of our time well spent curriculum.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be a great time for us to talk about productivity skills and how we can be more cognizant of the time that we spend.
Great, that sounds fantastic. Spring is a great time to kind of rethink your organizational skills, so this is very timely.
Exactly. Yes, so I'm excited to be here. We were talking earlier that I haven't been here in a while, so it's great to be back on
left us
Family
and went to
Lifestyle.
Lexington, Mindy.
Yes. So I'm glad to be back. So
Glad to have you.
it's exciting to be here.
So let's see, you worked with a group of specialists up at UK to create a series on productivity.
Exactly. So we recognized during the pandemic, first of all, that time management might be something that people really need help in understanding how to deal with, how to manage that
new
time.
reality.
And yes, and time management is something that's always been a challenge for people, but the pandemic seemed to exacerbate that challenge. And so many of us found that we were having trouble balancing life and work, balancing our responsibilities that we had at home versus our responsibilities that we had for our work life, especially if we were quarantined,
Right.
or if we were working from home, or whatever it was that our new reality was during the pandemic. And so we worked to develop this curriculum, and it does have 4 segments, and so we're going to talk about each of those 4 segments over the next several weeks.
Yeah,
but we will, of course, have the opportunity to talk about all of the facets of productivity, because productivity is kind of one of those soft skills that so many of us don't even think about, how we can be more productive, or what we can do to make our work life and our home life more productive.
So it's situational, right? I mean,
Exactly.
we all had, we were well organized at work and then everything changed. And so now we have to rethink that.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're exactly right. You know, some of us have really great skills at work, and maybe we don't have those skills so much at home. And so if we can find ways to translate that back and forth so that we can do those in both places, then we're going to find that, research shows that we're going to be less stressed.
Absolutely.
And that we're going to be able to deal with everything a little bit more comfortably. And so I think it's a great program, and I hope that people will be able to benefit from all that we have to share.
Okay, so let's get to it, Mindy. Productivity versus procrastination.
Yes. So first of all, we're going to identify some reasons that we procrastinate, because even those most organized people probably procrastinate from time to time.
Yes.
And then we're going to examine some barriers to productivity. Okay. We're going to look at some strategies for combating procrastination. Okay. And hopefully we're going to increase productivity so
that sounds
we
good.
won't be so prone to procrastination. And then we're going to reframe productive procrastination, because there is actually some benefit to a little bit of procrastination.
Okay, that's good.
And think of it as prioritization instead.
Prioritization.
So those are our goals for today.
Okay.
And that's how we're going to get through this whole topic that we're going to talk about as today.
Sounds
good. Paul Meyer said, productivity is never an accident. It is always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort.
Okay.
And I think that is something that we all can really think about, and we can focus on as we think about these topics as we move through this whole session, because we do have so much that we can really focus on to be more productive.
Okay.
And so if we really think about this as a commitment to excellence, because we all want to be better at what we do, whether we're talking about work or we're talking about our family lives or whatever it is that we're doing. If we're talking about making the yard prettier.
Right.
You know, we want to have a commitment to excellence, but we don't want our commitment to excellence to override our ability to be productive.
Okay.
And sometimes that happens, and so we'll talk about that later too.
Sounds good.
So, there are, you know, sometimes that we talk about the difference versus productivity versus procrastination. And when we talk about productivity, we think of productivity as using time more effectively. And when we think about procrastination, getting my words mixed up here, and it's easy to do. But when we think about procrastination, we think about delaying tasks.
Right.
So, of course, then we are not using our time efficiently, or we're not being effective with how we're using
We're
that
not
time.
following our schedule, we're putting it off. And usually it's something that we don't want to do.
Exactly. That's often something that we don't want to do. And so if we can really reframe how we think about things, or if we can think about ways to break those down and come up with good ways of dealing with how we look at those big jobs or those big tasks that maybe we really don't like to do, then we're going to be a whole lot more equipped, I guess.
My mom gave me good advice many years ago when I moved into my first home. She said, you're going to be overwhelmed with housework. It's hard to maintain a home.
Yes.
She said, have your regular weekly things that you do every week, and add in one big task that you put off that you hate doing. And if you get that one thing done, you'll feel like you accomplished something.
That is great advice.
I still follow it to this day. So
yes, and we're going to talk about that later. We call it eating the frogs. So
Yes.
we're going to talk about the frogs. Yes, so
All right.
that is great advice. See, your mom knew what she was talking about.
She did.
And actually, if we think about the advice that our mothers gave us, or those who came before us, they
usually
knew a whole lot
good.
about what we were doing. And if we would just have followed all of that, we wouldn't have need for us to be
Talking
giving
about
these
it now.
these time well spent lessons. But yes, you know, if we would not delay those tasks that need to be prioritized, then procrastination would not exist, right?
Right.
So we wouldn't even have to talk about it. But yes, so there are lots of reasons that we procrastinate, and I think as we move into this whole session, as we talk about all of these, we're going to talk about the reasons that we procrastinate, what causes us to procrastinate, and why we do it, and ways that we can fight against doing it, because, you know, it makes us more stressed.
It definitely does. It's something you have to do, and you keep putting it off, and it's right there. It's like
Yes. And if we would just do it and get it over with,
You don't have to worry.
then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Exactly. So there are lots of reasons that we do the things that we do, but if we can just get to them and move on, then we're going to feel a whole lot better about all of the things
It's
that we have to
true.
do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this is an exciting curriculum, and I think that you know, the lessons that we have to share and the lessons that we're going to learn as we move through them are going to be useful for everybody.
I know that when we were first introduced to this as FCS agents, it really resonated with me.
Yes.
I mean, big time. And that is basically why I reached out to you and said, hey, we want to get you guys, get this on. So I'm glad that you're here to share it with us. And, you know, coming from the people that actually wrote the curriculum, I think you get a lot more out of it than just a recitation from someone else who learned about it.
Yes,
So thank you
yes.
very much.
Well,
I really appreciate it.
And we're excited to share. I think it'll be great.
Okay, so we are through our first segment. We're going to return to learn more about productivity versus procrastination with Mindy McCulley.
Look at you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see?
Oh, Max, you broke it. No, don't do that. Bad boy.
Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there.
Welcome back to Family Lifestyles. I'm Lynn, Blankenship, back with Mindy McCulley, and we're going to continue our conversation about productivity versus procrastination.
Yes, so we talked about reasons we procrastinate in the last segment. And there are really 4 main reasons that we procrastinate. So we have emotional reasons. We have physical needs that cause us to procrastinate. We procrastinate for our own protection. And then we procrastinate because of uncertainty.
Okay.
So first, let's talk about our emotions that cause us to procrastinate. What emotions do you think might cause you to procrastinate?
Fear.
Yes, definitely.
Of the unknown. Sometimes you have something that's looming over you that you've never done before that you have to do, and you're dreading, failure perhaps.
Right, exactly.
And so that's a big one.
Yeah, that is definitely a big one, and that's probably the biggest one. People just don't know what to expect, and so
they
that
put it
also
off.
plays on into the uncertainty. And so yes, just don't know. And then we have physical needs. And so if, maybe somebody feels like they just cannot physically perform the task.
Yeah.
And so they put it off. That's something that they can't do.
Sometimes the emotions feed into the physical too.
Exactly, definitely.
So if you're putting something off for a long time, then you start to feel sick to your stomach when you're thinking about doing it or whatever,
Yes.
those things.
And so we have a little acronym that we help people kind of work through.
Okay.
It's called HALT. So if you might be hungry, that's the H.
Big one.
And now I'm drawing a blank.
Angry?
Angry, thank you. Is our A. And then for L, gosh, Lynn, I'm really having
I can't remember the L either. All right.
Okay, so
If you're hungry, angry, or tired, or anything, it's going to affect.
Yes, and so we have T is our tired, and L is going to come to us in a minute.
Okay.
It's part of our we've reached this place in our life where these things happen, right?
It's just part of it.
Yes. So anyway, but we have these things happen to us, and so we are going to come up with reasons that we're going to put something off, and so. Sometimes we put things off for protection. We've had that flight or fright or freeze response.
Yes.
And so sometimes that is our body's response. We're going to just pause. And so we aren't going to deal with this right now.
Yeah.
And that's that flight or fright response.
You just can't take any more stress. You're just going to walk away from it.
And we're not going to deal with it. And then, of course, uncertainty. We're not sure what's going to happen. We're not sure how we're going to deal with it. And so we're going to move on. And we're just going to leave it. And then we'll come back to it later. And so that is why we procrastinate. We procrastinate just to move on so that we can come back to it later and maybe we can deal with it. So if we can recognize the reasons we procrastinate, then maybe we can deal with that procrastination.
Right.
And that will help us examine why we do it and then help us to refocus and get our goals ready.
It's like self-therapy.
Exactly, yes.
It's like, why am I not doing this?
Talk us through the reasons why we're doing it and then help us figure out ways to make it happen. Okay. So, in therapy, they always say the first step is figuring out why it's happening. And so here we are. We are figuring out why we are procrastinating.
Okay.
So if it's an emotional reason, if it's a physical reason, whatever that reason is, if it's just for our own self-protection, then whatever that reason is, then we need to deal with that, So if you're hungry, then go get a little bite to eat. I'm the world's worst about getting up in the morning, getting ready for the day, sitting down to work, and then it's 10:30. And I've realized I've not eaten a bite. And the reason that I don't want to do whatever it is that's in front of me is because I'm hungry. And so if I'll go get something to eat, then I can tackle the rest of the day and I'm good.
Your brain needs fuel.
Exactly.
It needs sleep, it needs fuel, it needs hydration. If you don't give it those things, especially when you get older, like, get into your 50s, you're like, I'm really dependent on getting a good night's sleep to function the next day.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. So we need those things. So figure out what it is and deal with it. Examine the why. Once we've examined the why, and then handle it. Figure it out and deal with it. And so then you need to once you've figured that out, maybe it's a big task. And we talked about earlier, there are big tasks sometimes that we just don't always know how to handle.
Right.
So sometimes we might need to take them, put them into smaller pieces. And this is something that I have found works really well for me. So if I can break it down into smaller pieces, and maybe I can handle it over several days.
And it gets easier because you're
Right.
finishing it
In smaller
in
chunks.
piecemeals.
Exactly. Yeah. So, break it down into smaller pieces. Maybe you can delete some non-essential parts of that task. So, let's say we're talking about mowing the grass.
Okay.
Maybe mowing the grass is the task that you don't really want to do. Well, maybe it's the weed eating that drives you insane. So maybe you can get somebody else to weed eat for you.
And then just do the mowing.
And just do the mowing. Because I actually kind of like to mow. So
It's very rewarding.
yes, but I don't like to weed eat.
Yeah.
Mostly because that pole is a whole lot taller than I am. So
And it's good.
So if
Yeah,
I can
it's
just
scary.
get somebody else to weed eat for me, then I
you
can
can do the
delete
mowing.
that task. Now, it's not that it's really a non-essential task.
Right.
It's a task
It's a
that needs
task
to
that
be
has to be
done.
done.
It's just that it doesn't have to be done by me.
Yeah, and so,
So-
you're keeping the part that you're okay with, and you're delegating.
Right.
Yeah.
That part. So perhaps, it's a task that that needs to be done, but you're not really sure about how to do it. So maybe you need some advice
Yeah.
about how to do it.
Or help.
Yeah. So just ask, ask somebody. Now, help me how can you help me do this? How can I do it better? Or
How would you do it if
or
it
how
was
would
your
you do it if it
task?
was exactly. So
Yeah.
all
Get
of
some
these
ideas.
things you can to help you move along that procrastination continuum so that you aren't stuck, because we don't want to be stuck.
No.
And then, set yourself some deadlines. Some people don't like deadlines, but sometimes, just a little deadline can help you to feel like you have accomplished something.
I am married to my calendar. I use an electronic calendar, and I
Yes.
use deadlines with reminders.
Yes.
And I always put a deadline for a task that I'm think I might procrastinate. I put a way out deadline.
Yes,
Like get it on get it into your mind, start thinking about it. And sometimes you just need to think about something for a while before you actually have to start doing
Exactly.
it. And that might be your first step. And then it gets easier a couple of weeks down the road because you've thought about it, you might have talked to someone about it,
Right.
done some planning, and then when that deadline comes where you really have to start doing the task, you're prepared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And those are great things. And make sure you give yourself some rewards for achieving those goals. Once you have gotten to those tasks, then yay, you
Right.
did it. And it doesn't have to be a big reward. Maybe it's just you get to take a 5-minute walk or something. You get to take a break because you got to that reward. But if you have tackled those big tasks, then you can say, I have eaten the frog.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we'll talk a little bit more about the frog, but those big tasks, those looming tasks, those tasks that you just don't want to do, we call the frog.
The frog. Okay, so we're going to learn more
We're going to
about
talk
the
about
frog
the frog
in the next segment.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us. Stick with us, Family Lifestyles, for some more great information about handling procrastination with Mindy McCulley. Welcome back to Family Lifestyles. And we're going to wrap up our segment on productivity versus procrastination with Mindy McCulley. We're going to talk about eating the frog.
Yeah, so that doesn't sound like too much fun unless you like frog legs.
Frog legs.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about that really hairy, warty, yucky looking frog, not the kind you want to kiss to make a prince.
And not fried and ready to eat.
Yes, not that kind of frog. We're talking about, a really yucky frog. And if you can think about a job that you really, really, really don't want to do. And when I think about a job that I really, really don't want to do, for work, it's reports.
Yeah, reports aren't fun.
For home, it's probably cleaning the toilets. So if I think about reports and cleaning the toilets and about the same kind of, they have about the same quantity for me as far as they're both frogs that I don't like to eat.
Hideous tasks that you put off.
So when it's my cleaning day at home, I start with cleaning the toilets.
You know you're going to get it done.
That's what
Everything else is better after
I'll eat the frog first, and so I will clean those toilets first, and then it's all uphill from there.
Right.
I wish I could say that I'm the same about doing my reports at work. So if I would start my month with getting my reports done, then it would all be all up there. But I seem to be really bad about procrastinating and putting my reports off until the end.
It's easy to do.
I try, but I do try to break it down into little parts. We talked about that in the last segment, that if we can break that down into little parts. We talked at the beginning that my title is Extension Specialist for Instructional Support. And not only do I support agents, but I also support all of our other specialists.
Yes.
And so not only do I do reporting for myself, but I also do reporting for all of our other specialists. So it helps me to remember.
I didn't know that, and I feel
Yes.
so sorry for you now that I do.
It helps me to remember that there are other people depending on me.
Right.
And so they can't do their reporting until I give them my reports.
I see.
And so it really does help me to eat that frog, to know that I have to do what I have to do.
There are people
so that
depending
they
on
can
you.
do what they have to do. And so sometimes if you know that, then, if you know that there are other people depending on you to get your frog done, then that does help to make sure you do it.
It is. It's good motivation.
Yeah.
Also for exercising, when you exercise with
Exactly.
someone
So
else,
if you have
an appointment.
you have a dependability
likely to
partner
do
or
it.
accountability partner. Yeah, so you are more likely to do it. And even, we talked about how the pandemic sort of got us thinking about making this curriculum happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, even during the pandemic, when you couldn't get together with that accountability partner, you still could virtually get together with those people. And so we still have these virtual exercise groups that are happening.
I have one.
Yes.
I have one night a week, Zoom yoga.
Yeah, so we still are having them happen. And those are one of the things that really has come out of the pandemic that has been really beneficial, and it has continued. And I find that it is great. So
It is.
that does help to keep us on track and help us to be a little bit healthier. And we've both lost a little bit of weight, haven't we?
Yes,
So,
we have.
It works. So if we can find ways to eat the frog and do those things that we don't want to do, then we're better off. So we talked at the beginning that there are types of procrastination that might be a little bit beneficial. And that's kind of like productive procrastination. So can you think about what types of procrastination might be productive?
Productive procrastination.
Putting her on the spot
okay,
here.
no, I can think of something. All right, so your laundry builds up and you've got to sort your laundry, and sometimes you don't want to do the laundry, but you might procrastinate a little bit to save some water to get a larger load of all black items.
Okay.
So I do this regularly because you don't want to wash your black clothes with a gray something, because then you'll get pills all over it.
Yeah,
So sometimes you need to procrastinate washing the 2 black things that you wore in one day so that you can get a few more black things to put into the load.
Sure.
So that you're
and
not
that makes
wasting
sense.
water.
So it's more ecologically friendly to wait, to put off a little bit of that. Yeah, so you're prioritizing really is what you've done. You've prioritized those black clothes until you have more black clothes.
And you can do a whole
and you
black
can do a
load.
whole laundry load of black clothes.
Yeah.
I laugh. My husband and I actually talked about, there's a commercial on television right now that talks about you can do a small load of dishes, and it actually saves water to just go ahead and do that small load of dishes every night. And
With the
we've talked
dishwasher?
we've talked about
skeptical.
this, and I'm like, I don't think so. I said, first of all, you're using up more laundry detergent.
Yeah.
Just
Dish detergent.
put the dishes in the dishwasher and wait till it's full, and then
Scrape them,
wash
rinse them, throw them in there, and then when it's full, you run it. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I said I think that's the dishwashing detergent that's telling you that it's okay to go.
Yeah,
ahead
they
and
want you
wash
to
it
buy
every
more
night.
of it, and it's super expensive.
Yeah, so I think that putting off those dishes until your dishwasher is full is a good situation
Absolutely.
of productive procrastination. But if we call our productive procrastination prioritization, if we think of it as prioritization and reframe it as prioritization, then we're going to really
You feel more efficient.
Yes, we're going to feel more
You're
efficient.
not punishing yourself by saying, I'm procrastinating. You're
That's right.
kind of rewarding yourself.
Make a list. These are the things that I need to get done right now. These are the things that I need to get done, but they don't have to be done right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then these are the things that I will do later, but they don't, it's not pressing. They're not things that
I
have
use
to be
sticky
done.
notes.
Yeah.
So it makes a good
whatever your
system.
list, your list making.
Modus operandi.
Yes, yeah, whatever works for you. So, like you said earlier, you use an online calculator, a calendar, not a calculator, online calendar. Some people still use the calendar on their refrigerator. Some people still use a calendar, a
lot of
hard
people, use
calendar.
a
Whatever
journal
works
calendar.
for you, use. Because you want to use something that's effective and that's useful for
It
you.
really helps. And most people now have mobile phones, and
Right.
there's lots of calendar apps on mobile phones. And just keeping it helps to keep track, especially if you have children.
Yes.
With practices and all these different things that people have besides their own thing that they have going
Yes.
on. It makes it a lot easier to stay on top of the game if you use a calendar of some sort.
Well, and we've reached the point in our life where we've got doctor's appointments all the time, it seems like. So keeping up with those doctor's appointments and, knowing what my dad and my mother-in-law and, where they are, the kids aren't at home anymore, but now we have these other people that we need to keep up with.
Yes.
So keeping up with those things are important. And so it's just always good to know whatever your method is. So if it's online, if it's on the calendar that's on the wall, if it's on the refrigerator, wherever it is, use that method that works best for you so that you have a way. Because there is a time, as we demonstrated earlier, where things just slip from the mind.
Absolutely.
And it happens to people who have gray hair like us or to people who don't. So it happens to everybody.
Stress can affect the memory.
Oh, definitely.
So,
yes.
just talk to some young person who's working, trying to graduate from medical school, and they will tell you
Yes.
lack of sleep and stress will affect your memory.
Yes, definitely. So we have all of these opportunities for evaluation, and I think that you're going to have a QR code that's going to pop up on your screen. And so if you want to scan that and let us know how the information that you have heard today, if you have found any benefit from that you can either scan that QR code or you can enter the link that you find on the screen into your browser, then we would love to get some feedback.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Mindy. And we'll see you back next week.
All right, great.
Take care, everybody.